Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish I could start off by saying that this is a great tax cut that's going to benefit the entire state of Wisconsin. And while in a sense that's true, unfortunately, you do have to look at this in the greater scheme of things, namely this, that since the last time we had a significant reduction in taxes here in Wisconsin in the 2021 budget, we've had inflation of upwards of 11 or 12%. And this tax bill that the representative for the 4th wrote, as great as it is a 9% tax cut. And so what we are doing here is doing our best to combat bad policies at the federal level. You know, it's been said that inflation is a taxation without legislation. It's a taxation without representation. And we here at the state of Wisconsin can only do so much to combat bad federal policy. But that's what the representative from the 4th is trying to do. That's what this legislation is attempting to do our best to stem the tide against bad federal policy that's leading us down the path to fiscal ruin. You know, while there are some members on the other side of the aisle that don't listen to the debate, as was said publicly recently on social media, I actually do listen to both sides, Mr. Speaker. And it was interesting that the representative from the 44th said that she hadn't heard anybody asking for an income tax cut. Well, fortunately, we have Wisconsin Eye. We got the great cameras up front there, and the people of Wisconsin can see us and see when we speak on issues. And I'll be glad to let her know, Mr. Speaker, through you, that I received a text from one of her constituents saying that, you know what, he and his teacher wife would really appreciate an income tax cut. So I just want to let her know that one of her constituents contacted me and wanted to pass that information along to the body, that he and his wife, who is a teacher, would really appreciate a tax cut. But I know that the other side of the aisle wants to make this all about some sort of class warfare, want to say that this is rich versus poor. What happened in 2021, Mr. Speaker? What happened to this bracket that we are now discussing? Does anyone remember when there was a bipartisan vote on that budget to cut taxes in that bracket? That the governor signed a tax cut in that bracket? A bracket that I would actually point out was actually a larger tax cut. And you know, the governor, maybe because he was running for a re-election, I don't know. I hate to, put motivation behind why he would take the actions he did, but he didn't line item veto it a couple of years ago. He gave a 15% tax cut to that bracket. It's right there in his veto message when he's talking about all this other stuff. He points out that there's a 15% tax cut for the middle class tax bracket, and he celebrates it. I want to thank the governor for signing that budget, that he signed that tax cut. And now all of a sudden, a larger tax cut to the same bracket 2 years ago was okay, and there are some people on that side of the aisle that voted for it. That was a good budget to pass. That was a good budget for the governor to sign. That was a part that he did not line item veto out. But now all of a sudden that we're 3 years or so away from any kind of re-election requirement on his part, and now all of a sudden he threatens a veto for a smaller, more reasonable, more modest tax cut for that same bracket. Smells of politics, Mr. Speaker. When people pay taxes and they overpay, the money should go back to the people. It's pretty simple. It's not complicated. We've had people from that side of the aisle vote for it already. One or two of them aren't here already, but represent for the 23rd. She voted for that. We're appreciated to get her vote on that budget and for that tax cut. So now we can be reasonable again and pass another tax cut. And I would end on this note, that we want to keep people here in Wisconsin in retirement. And it goes beyond just the fact that, it's the right thing to do to say that, when they're facing an inflationary tax of 16, 12%, depends on how you run it and what year you're looking at. But the last several years, they're looking at a 10% cut to their disposable income, or a 12% cut, or a 16% cut to try to cut taxes for them and to make it affordable for them to be here in Wisconsin. It's simply the right thing to do. But beyond that, we want to keep our senior citizens here because they're part of our communities. They pitch in and they tend to have more time available than, the people that are still raising families, the people that are just starting out in life. They don't have they don't have to, juggle getting the kids to school and juggle, a job or 2 jobs or 3 jobs in this economy of biting inflation. They're there to help with our nonprofits. They're there to help with our charities and our churches. They're there to help with helping moms and dads care for their children, providing babysitting, providing wisdom, having the relationship with those children. We gain so much by having those people in our communities. And I would much rather have them in our communities 12 months out of the year, or even if they want to take 2 months out of the year to go down to Florida and enjoy some warm weather. If it's not a tax burden on them, they could spend 10 months out of the year maybe with us and be there to support us. I was recently, I did a ride along with, it's not called Meals for Wheels anymore, but that program to help out people that are shut-ins and to get food. I did a ride along up in Brown County. And they mentioned to me that right now during the summer, it's actually pretty easy. It's pretty easy, Mr. Speaker, to get people available because a lot of the people that are helping them are other elderly people that may someday need that help. Become winter time, they don't have as many volunteers because a lot of those people go south for the winter for tax reasons and other reasons. That's a strain on our society to help the people that are in the situations. We want these folks here. It's for the benefit of our communities. It's for the benefit of our families. It's for the betterment of Wisconsin to keep our retirees here and keep them engaged with our community. So for so many reasons, this is an easy vote. We should all be voting for it. Let's stand with the principle and the precedent set 2 years ago by Governor Evers and pass a tax cut for this middle-class tax bracket.